Hey there, Tracy here, artist in residence for Imagine Crafts. Welcome to the channel. In today's video, I'm going to show you how to make this fun and funky little Christmas card for Christmas in July. So let's go ahead and jump right in. Welcome back to the channel. Hello. So today we're going to be making this fun and funky little sparkly Christmas card using several inks, the VersaFine Clairs actually. So let's go ahead and get started. I'll show you what we're going to use. We're going to use VersaFine Clair in Verdant, in Strawberry, in Baby Pink, and in Bally Blue. We'll also be using some VersaFine Clair in Nocturne. We'll be using our Versamark ink. I've got some silver embossing powder. I've got some little stars. And we've got our sheer shimmer sticks. I've got a stamp from my stash. Pair of scissors. These are just things you're gonna need. Some glue. Let's see, what else? A little clear stamping block. And I recommend a stamping platform. If you're good at hand stamping, go for it. But I'd say, no, not so much. So we're going to start out with our background. And these are brand new stamps. I've never even used them. They're like 5 years old. And all I'm doing is just randomly with the Verdant ink stamping little trees on the background. And notice I stamped off first just to kind of, get the stamp a little conditioned. Now I use my little brush sticks to add the extra ink where I missed spots. And now I'm coming in with the Bally and doing some little stars. And next I'm coming in with the Baby Pink and doing smaller stars. So these are definitely non-traditional colors and traditional colors for Christmas. And then I'm going to do the little hearts in Strawberry. And that gets us our background part way. I'm going to give this a little bit of a heat set. And then I'm going to take another clean brush sticks here. And I'm just going to put some random shapes down. And I've got my embossing powder. And I'm just quickly putting little random shapes down. And what I have to do though is, because my ink wasn't completely dry, is just clean off any excess embossing powder that got on my stamped images. So I'll go ahead and complete adding the little blobs. I'm going to call them blobs. Just because I want some silver in this card, that's what's going to give it its full-on Christmas, besides the little trees, right? So I'll go ahead and heat emboss those with my heat tool. And I forgot to mention you need a heat tool for this. And then I'll let that cool for a moment, and then I'm going to add some splatters. And I'm going to grab my Delicata first and wet it down. And just with a little fan brush, do some little splatters on there. And that's going to give it a subtle shine. Now I'm going to come in with my bleed proof white and give it a little bit of white. And then I'm going to come in with a silver watercolor. So I've got several shades of white / gray / silver. Now I'm going to set that aside and let it dry, and I'm going to put a new piece of paper in my stamp platform, and this is just some 120-pound paper. And I've done stamp surgery on this stamp, so it was one stamp, but I could not get that thing to mask properly, so I decided to do surgery on it. Now if you're squeamish about stamp surgery, you could certainly try other methods of masking, like cutting out little masks for each shape to cover them while you stamp. So I'm going to start with the smallest one, and I'm going to come in with my Baby Pink. And just make sure I've got good coverage on that stamp. And don't be afraid to stamp it down twice if you don't get coverage the first time. And this is why a stamping platform is very handy for a person like me, because my secondary aim, I just can't see well enough through the stamp to hit it exactly right every time. So I've got that nice and bold on there, that Baby Pink. Isn't that a gorgeous color? Now I'm going to take the second portion of my surgically altered stamp here, and I'm going to fit it right exactly in the spot where I cut it out. So that's why I left the other stamp in the platform. and just making sure the bottom edges are even. And then I'll pull out the smallest one. And this is the only way I could figure to get 3 colors on that little arch, where it kind of is like a little funky rainbow. So I'm coming in with the Bally. I love the new colors. And these 3 are the newest ones. The Verdant is the only one that's from the original line. And I hope I'm saying that right. Verdant, I'm not sure. Green, sort of a light green. So I'll leave that stamp in after I've wiped it off, and I'll put my final stamp in. Just again, matching up where I trimmed it with the stamp surgery and pulling off the last piece. And this doesn't have to be absolutely perfect, but there's an overlying stamp that, you know, has to fit over them in order to look right-ish. So I'm going to go ahead and stamp the biggest one down in the strawberry. And I know I'm going to need a second one on that because I can see my stamp itself kind of beating up because it's not, you know, it's not super used. It's not been conditioned. The older your stamps get, the better they stamp. There we go. I'm happy with that. So I'll clean off my last piece. And I'm going to wait for this to dry. Now, I initially tried to emboss this in silver, but I could not get those 3 colors right there to dry enough without getting embossing powder all over them. So I gave up and went to black. So I'm going to go ahead and just stamp that out in black, and I'm perfectly happy with it being black. Would look really cute in white too. But I just couldn't. Listen, I didn't have the patience. So I'm trimming this piece down to 4 3/4 by 3 1/2, and then I'm going to fussy cut out my little rainbow piece here. And being careful because I'm sure that my black ink isn't quite dry yet. So I'm going to have that piece going here, and I want a border piece here, a matte layer, so I'm cutting this down to 5 by 3 3/4. And I'm going to use my Versamark ink, and I'm going to run it along the edge here. And I only do 2 sides at a time. Then I'm going to grab my silver embossing powder, and I'm just going to fold my paper in half so my embossing powder doesn't fly everywhere. And I'm going to emboss the first half. You could do the whole thing at once, but I'm too clumsy. I'll make a mess. I'll knock some of the embossing powder off and things. And I'll do the other side. And this will make a beautiful silver matte layer that goes with the silver that's inside the background of the card. So we'll get that heat embossed, and that'll be my matte layer. And it's kind of hard to see the silveriness on camera because, well, it's up against white. But it's definitely in person, you can see that it's a really bright silver, just like the silver that's inside the background of the card. And then I'm going to go ahead and just attach this to an A2 card base, just making sure that I've got even borders all the way around. And I'll pop this piece up on some foam. I've just got some fun foam here it's got a sticky backing, but it's pretty low profile, probably less than 2 millimeters. I'm not exactly sure the millimeter. You could use any foam tape you have. I'm going to add some glue, and then I'm just going to glue this down and make sure that it's even on both sides. And then I've got a couple of steps left to do here. I've got this scrap piece that I cut the little rainbow out of, and I'm going to stamp my sentiment, and I'm going to stamp this little individual Christmas. I call those a Christmas star. I don't know. And I'm going to be using silver and clear, and I'm going to stamp in my Nocturne, in my VersaFine Clear Nocturne. But the silver will cover that star, so you'll see here in a moment. Go ahead and get this picked up here. And then I'll go ahead and heat emboss the sentiment, and then I'll heat emboss the star, and you'll see, because now you can't even see the star because it's silver. So I fussy cut out the star and the sentiment. I've got a little tiny piece of foam on the top part of the star. I'm going to go ahead and add some glue to the bottom part of the star and onto my foam. And I'm going to go ahead and just stick that down so it's kind of sticking down onto that little rainbow piece. And then I've got some foam tape on my sentiment. I'm going to go ahead and pop that up down at the bottom. Now all that's left to do is some decorating. So I've got my little stars here, and I'm going to use the biggest of the group. And I'm just going to randomly place stars all over the card. Starting to look like a bowl of Lucky Charms, huh? Christmas Lucky Charms. They're magically delicious. So these are going to give more sparkle and shine to the card. And just, again, I'm not doing an odd or even number. I'm just laying them down till I'm happy with how many I have. And I'm doing them, notice, in the empty spaces. So it just fills up our background a little bit more. Let's see here. Where else? Where else? Here we go. A couple over here. And I'd only do a couple at a time because I lose my glue spots. If I don't, I just forget where I put them. And then I end up with weird little sticky spots on my card. Let's get one up here. I'm just trying to make everything look kind of even. And I did put one little one on a tree. That's okay. I just felt like it needed one there. Okay, see, I already lost my glue spot. One more, come on. I'm just making sure I choose the largest stars because there are several sizes of stars in that pack there. So there's my stars, and finally I'm going to come in with my shimmer sticks, and this is the sheer. And it's very hard to see this or take pictures of it when it's on a dark color, but here it is, and I kind of pulling it up close and moving it around so you can see the shimmer. And that's the card, friends. I hope you like it. Thanks so much, and if you're not already subscribed, please subscribe. Hit that like button and hit that notification bell so that you're notified every time we upload a new video. Take care. Bye-bye.